Dear friends, thank you very much for your questions, and I'm trying to answer them. I am at the moment in Freiburg an der Elbe in Germany, which is 2 hours away from Hamburg. This is a weekend house of my brother-in-law, and we stay here for the Corona time. I'm here already 8 weeks already. Now to your questions. Bibi asks, Dear Adam, first of all, congratulations to the latest fantastic award. Thank you, Bibi, very much. I have some questions for you about the upcoming Beethoven Marathon concerts. When do you actually start to prepare for such a special event? I heard the first time the Beethoven symphonies when I was 10 and 12, and I'm preparing all my life for this. It is not a preparation to learn every note with what is written in the score. I know it already, but to have new ideas how to realize your musical fantasies or so. Technically, I start a couple of days before the first rehearsal. I'm reading through the score and I'm planning what to do with the rehearsals, how to spend time on more important parts and whatsoever, but it is not the real preparation time. You have another question also. Is your intention to perform the symphonies as much as possible like the recording? Or did you already in your mind find all ways of improvements, new approaches? Or it is up to what happens when you and the orchestra meet again? More than ever, I'm looking forward to the next live experience with you and the orchestra. Cannot wait. Thank you, Bibi. I can't wait either. I don't want to change too much. I want to do it the same way how we did the recordings, but it cannot be always the same way. It depends also what happens during the rehearsals. Do we have enough rehearsals to change something or not? It will be a little bit different, but basically it will be same as at the recording. If we had 5 more years, then we will definitely do it differently. And now to the question of Henrik. Dear Adam, I have 1 or 2 related questions for you. What are your own hopes and expectations for the Beethoven Marathon? What is that you want to accomplish in this super concentrated Beethoven weekend? And what do you hope the audience will experience? It's a very good question. The symphonies of Beethoven are unique, and it is a long way during Beethoven's life. And he had a natural development, and it is fascinating to follow this development. And I do think that these symphonies belong together. It is one big opus, and we have to try at least to live in the intensity for 2 days, in the intensity of this music. And I'm very confident that people will enjoy this music differently in this concentration. And if people think that you get tired, I don't think so. I hope that at the end of the 9th Symphony, we will be so fresh that we could start again from the beginning. Marco asks, thanks for this chance. How do you guide an orchestra that has no previous experience in the so-called historically informed performance practiced closer to what you believe in the sound of the first Viennese school? Thanks, you maestro. Theoretically, you have to have always the same vision of a symphony or a music piece, but you have to find theoretically different solutions with every single musician, because I want to get musicians to express feelings, and every musician can express feelings a little bit different to the other. And if I force them to do my solution, it won't be very good at the end. Of course, I did Beethoven with different orchestras, and they had different traditions, and you can discuss for very long what is the correct way, how many vibratos, what sort of strings, all these questions. They are of course very important, but I try to do different Beethovens with different orchestras. I want to include the personality of the musicians to the interpretation what we find all together. Of course, with the Danish Chamber Orchestra is unique because we were working on these pieces for years, and they don't play these pieces or don't play very often these pieces with other conductors, so we could have a very special interpretation. We could find a special, personally interesting way. This is something I can't reach with other orchestras. I got some questions from Sven Werner. Sven Werner asks, Dear Maestro, first of all, many congratulations on achieving the ICMA Recording of the Year. Thank you very much indeed. My question to you is, in which way has your work with Beethoven symphonies with Denmark's Anne Holness Orchestra influenced your view on Beethoven as a composer? Of course, it was very, very interesting to work on this project with the Chamber Orchestra. We were working on Beethoven for years. We did them again and again, first in concerts, then we started the recording while the orchestra was playing for the Danish radio, and then after that we had to start again from the beginning. But I'm very glad that we did it twice, because to understand this music, something has to develop. And that was a very interesting development process with the musicians of the Danish Chamber Orchestra. In today's musical life, it is a luxury to be able to work so long on something special and to find good and better solutions. I think I'm a different person after this. Of course, I can't promise you that I would not be a different person without the Beethovens, because I got now 8 years older. But it gave me something very interesting, very new, and I think I understand the personality of Beethoven much better after this series. I have here a question from Jens. How can you have that many notes in your head? You conduct without a score. Well, it is not so difficult as it appears and what it thinks. If you know the music well, or if you spend enough time with the music, then you understand the function of the music. You understand every single note, why this note is there. That is what, for me, very important. You have to ask always why. What does something want to express? And if you understand the reason why the composer wrote something, or you think you understand the reason, then it is not a problem to know it by heart. Believe me, it's not as difficult as it looks. Natalie asks, Dear Adam, this is not so much of a question as to being a conductor, but I was wondering, what advice would you give to an aspiring musician? And have you ever had trouble with getting started with a project? What do you do to get yourself to begin? It's a very good question. At the beginning of my career, I was very nervous, and before I started to conduct at a concert, at an opera performance, sometimes at the very first rehearsal with the orchestra, I was nervous. And I did not want them to know that I'm nervous, but I was. And you know, if you are nervous, your hands are trembling a little bit. That's all right. But I had the button, and the conductor's button is there to enlarge the movements of a conductor. So if my hands were traveling that much, the end of the button was doing this big movement. So it was very, very difficult, and I was angry with myself. Sometimes I had to take the button with the other hand and give the first attack only without a button, just to get more relaxed. When the performance and the concert started, then it was not a problem anymore. But at the beginning, I can remember, and some of the musicians in the Vienna Staatsoper, they were smiling at me. They knew the problem of a young conductor. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to meeting you all again in the fall. Take care of yourself and each other, and I'll see you at the Beethoven Marathon in September. Bye.